Well, hey, thanks for joining us for another Slice and Dice with the Dean. We have Dr. Carol Cerulli Lanham here with us. She's an authentic Italian who happens to be working with us and living here in Texas for quite a while. But I'm going to turn it over to Dr. C.
All right, well, thank you. And oh yeah, and in fact, I didn't even change my screen name. I always forget to do that. I am Dr. C to my students. They know me as Dr. Cerulli in my class. It's like a little thing we have going because I talk so much about Italy in class. And it's a way for me to know if someone calls me Dr. Cerulli, it means they've taken a class with me because most people call me Dr. Lanham. So I am
including me.
Yeah, exactly. So in a perfect world, I might have changed that name, but anyway, Dr. C it is. And I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, but to an Italian immigrant family. And therefore, I spent a lot of my life going to Italy, much more so as an adult because my mother lives there. And so every year, my kids and my husband and I would go in the summertime. And in fact, the kids who are now adults, they speak Italian, which I think is a great gift to them. And yeah, they know how to cook too, especially my older son, who may be on this Zoom or watching the recording afterwards, but he's learned a lot from his grandmother as well. And so I'll be talking about some things that my mom recommends. And also, I think we should start, Dr. Holmes, by talking about the big debate about what constitutes like authentic Italian recipes for spaghetti.
I think so. Now, you want to share with people the article you sent me on the New York Times, because there's quite a bit of passion about what is truly authentic Italian food. And I think you probably can speak to that and maybe share with our viewers what happened in that New York Times article.
Yeah, so at first I had thought about making spaghetti carbonara, which is a spaghetti with, you're probably familiar with it, with eggs and then something called guanciale, which I just substituted bacon for that, you know, in my American way of doing things. And the New York Times also suggested substituting bacon and adding tomato. And I think it was adding the tomato in there that just set off a firestorm on social media. And Italians said, how dare you tamper with our recipe and say that it would be better with spaghetti, or that you can even substitute bacon for it. And so what I decided to do today is be on the safe side and refer to this wonderful cookbook. It's called Il Talismano della Felicità, which would be like the talisman of happiness. And in Italy, there's no doubt food equals happiness, food equals love. And food is at the centerpiece of everything, really. Like if they're going to drink wine, it's with food usually. You know, Italians don't usually drink alcohol unless they're eating. And this is sort of like the gold standard, as far as I know, published in 1929, 1,054 very dense pages. I can like put it up close.
And how much does that weigh?
Well, quite a bit. And you know what? I got married in Italy, so that means that I had to bring this back along with a lot of other wedding gifts. I don't know how we managed to get back china and crystal and yes, heavy textbooks, but I was saying I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it did come out in a new edition in 1999, but I got married before that. So this must still be the 1929 edition. And I decided that I would differentiate between the recipes that are in here and therefore authentically Italian, and the kind of American way of doing things that no doubt if any of my relatives are watching from Italy, they would be super appalled over the variations I'm going to show.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing both for sure.
All right, well, I thought that what I would do is just start out with a recipe that, believe it or not, is in the Talismano della Felicità. And it's just spaghetti with garlic and oil. Like, wow, that is about as simple as it gets, isn't it? I mean, you just take a little bit of garlic and the cookbook says to remove the garlic. To be honest, like, once you put it in the pan and flavored the oil, it says to remove the garlic. So I'll be doing that today. But to be honest, I never really have. It's like, so knowing that they recommend once you flavor the oil, go ahead and take the garlic out. I'm going to go ahead and make it fairly big pieces also because, here I am cooking on live Zoom, live Facebook. It's a little bit of pressure to get it right. So I'm going to put a lot of oil in here and then the garlic pieces. And the reason why I wanted to start with this is because it's really the foundation of every other variation. Everything always starts with oil and garlic and extra virgin olive oil, of course. I mean, it really starts with that. And not butter. To my knowledge, you don't make pasta with butter in Italy, but a lot of the American recipes say to use butter.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right for the authentic version.
Exactly. So I have my water boiling now, and I had mentioned in my promo that I recommend barilla pasta, and it's usually, it's often used to be $1. It's now $1.50. It'll definitely feed a family of 4. And there's a number on this pasta, and I think that's important for you to know because the number 5 is spaghetti, okay? And then the higher the number, the thicker the spaghetti. And Italians have a way of speaking where a little thing is ini. So a low number, as in a true spaghetti, would be spaghettini, and we are going to use those later. Or spaghettoni, which would be the thick spaghetti, and that would be a number 12. So number 5 is, in fact, you see the number right here on the side of the box, spaghetti number 5. And it doesn't mean anything per se, besides the lower the number, the thinner the spaghetti, and again, it's a slightly different name.
And these are all still spaghetti, just different thicknesses, right?
Yeah, spaghetti and spaghettini and spaghettoni, but we also talked yesterday about bucatini, and that would be that thicker spaghetti with a hole in the middle of it. So that would be bucatini.
And why would you have a hole? Why would you have a hole in the middle?
Just to soak up the goodness of what, often you will make bucatini with, a nice tomato sauce and, you want to soak up all the goodness of the topping that you put on it. So
I didn't even know that existed, but clearly I will put it on my list to explore.
I love bucatini, and I think, in this moment in time, I think that I have it right that it would be, you would make bucatini alla matriciana, and that is a dish where, again, you put some kind of pork product in with the tomato, and I won't say bacon or pancetta because I don't really know, and it's there in my 1,054-page book. But right now I'm going to just focus on my garlic, which is starting to, sizzle up. And I do have my water boiling because with most of these dishes, during the 10 minutes that it takes to cook the pasta, and I would recommend following directions because it says al dente perfection in 10 to 11 minutes. And what al dente means is to the tooth, like chewy, not mushy. Like, that's one thing about American cooking of pasta sometimes, like the Americanized version. And of course, I love Tex-Mex like the next person, and I understand it's not really authentically Mexican. And similarly, a lot of the Italian food you're going to find in Dallas is not that authentic. But anyway, al dente is preferred. And I'm going to show you several things, so I'm not going to put the spaghetti in yet. But generally speaking, that would be enough time. 10 minutes of cooking. I'll put it in at about 5 minutes because I have other things to talk about. But I just wanted to start out with the simple garlic and oil, spaghetti aglio olio. You put some pepper. You might put some red pepper flakes, or what Italians call peperoncino.
Yeah, so I do that. So that's okay. That's authentic.
That's all authentic. It's in the cookbook. It's a gold standard. And this is the kind of thing that maybe you're out playing cards. It's midnight. You want a midnight snack. What are you going to make? Spaghetti aglio olio. But I'm going to go beyond that because that's kind of boring. But yet it's a staple and it's wonderful. And I'm gonna make spaghetti with tuna because, you know, even though Italians aren't practicing Catholics in a large part anymore. The society has gotten much more secular. They are in the shadow of the Vatican, and it is Lent. And so there's like a cultural tradition of eating fish on Fridays during Lent, and that's between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday. And so that's why I picked a fish dish, and I like eating spaghetti with tuna. And I just want to talk about the difference between the way I would fix it and what the cookbook says. So the first thing that I would mention is that I like using Kalamata olives, and would be something that I would put in the spaghetti aglio. I would put the olives in there right now. It makes it much more flavorful. And when my mom heard that I was doing this, she said, yeah, tell her not to just make spaghetti aglio. It should be spaghetti with the olive, you know. And so the Kalamata olives, just go ahead and get them without, you know, already, what do they call them?
Already pitted?
Pitted, yeah, pitted.
So, okay, so your mother approves of this variation.
Yes, we eat spaghetti with olives all the time. It's just a staple. And
could you put it in the first one just with the garlic?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
okay. This isn't with the tuna yet.
Not with the tuna yet, but you can also use it with the tuna. You know, it's like all of those together. And then I like putting the little cherry tomatoes, which are so pretty, right? Yeah. Cherry tomatoes on the vine. But I vowed to kind of stick with the recipe from the Gold Standard Cookbook, and they don't suggest putting these tomatoes on the vine. So I'm going to follow their recommendation. And the first thing they say is to go ahead and take the garlic out of the pan. So it's infused, the olive oil is infused with the flavor, and I'm taking the garlic out. And what they recommend is putting in some peeled and de-seeded tomatoes. Now, when we were doing our little practice run, I said, have you ever peeled and de-seeded a tomato? Because I had not. So what about you, Dean Holmes?
I have, in fact, but not a lot. So my grandfather, one of the last times I visited him up in Missouri, in Joplin, he had this nice garden with these huge tomatoes. I mean, monster tomatoes, like fist-size, head-size tomatoes. And he wanted to make a fresh sauce, and so he did it old school. He skinned them with boiling water, kind of like you're doing. What he did is, you know, you had boiling water and you kind of scored the tomato and popped it in, and then you could then easily peel the skin off it. And then after it cooled, he would seed it, and then we'd make spaghetti sauce.
All right, well, I'm skipping the seeding part because I just feel like I don't have the bandwidth for that. But I had peeled 3 tomatoes, and I'm going to show you. Let's try it together. Let's try peeling this tomato. So the first thing you have to do is put a little X on the bottom.
Yep.
And that's important because I forgot that step and nothing happened. So I'm putting it in the boiling water, and only 1 minute. So let me set my timer here. 1 minute in the boiling water.
Oh, you're so precise. So when I did this, when I had a bumper crop, and then I was making a vodka sauce something, and I did want to peel it, but I would just throw them in there, and as they would pop, I'd pull it out and throw another one in there and just kind of rotate them out.
Yeah, I like to follow the recipe, set the timer, measure. I don't think my mother's ever used a recipe in her life that I know of. So I am a very different cook, and I have a backup. I felt like I wouldn't have the patience nor the time to peel too many tomatoes. And so I buy this at Jimmy's, and it's just purely tomatoes, and doesn't even have salt in there. Yeah, it has Mediterranean sea salt, and it's called passata di pomodoro. And I feel like this is the next best thing to doing it myself. But honestly, if I were to make my own pasta with tuna, I would just use the fresh tomatoes, not peeled. I would use the olives and the tuna, and that's it. So I'm taking the tomato out right now, and I'm putting it right in the ice water. and we'll see how easy it is to peel. And you'll notice that olive oil will splatter, like try not to get it too hot because it does, it's not like vegetable oil. And by the way, my tuna also is packed in olive oil. And Dean Holmes, you were looking up the price of this packed in olive oil.
Yeah.
So can you like,
I think I found it at Kroger online for like $2.50. Now, what would happen if you say spent the 79 cents and got the regular tuna packed in water? What would happen?
No problem. My son was saying in the family feed, what do you mean packed in oil? I've always made it packed in water. It just won't be as juicy. And, you know, there's these nuances in cooking. But look at that. Look at how can you see how the skin is just coming off? And the idea is that the skin is a very different texture. So especially if you were making tomato sauce, you wouldn't want to have the skin in there. But for me, if I chop up the cherry tomatoes very finely, I think it's still good. So, but we're doing it the authentic way. So I am now putting the tomatoes in here, and it basically, the recipe calls for letting it cook until it starts to look like sauce. So whether we have time to do that or not is a question that's open at this point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit. We're gonna do the TV version. And I'm just gonna speed up the process and hope I can get this open. It probably would have been good to open it in advance. So hold on, let me try.
Do you have your taster? Do you have your taster handy?
Yeah, he's back there working really hard, but I did get it open, so I don't have to call him in just yet. But he's got a really great meal coming up. So I'm gonna speed up the process and put in this passata.
And just out of curiosity, so how much does that tomato sauce cost?
This one costs $2.99 at Jimmy's.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, so we were talking about, and you know what? I don't need to use it all. I don't need to use the whole bottle. But we were talking about Italy, and somebody asked me, have you been to Italy at North Park? And yeah, here's the price. It's still, it's $2.99. And I have been to Italy, and it's a beautiful place. I love the Italy in Rome. I love the Italy in New York. And pre-COVID times, it's a fantastic place to eat indoors, right? But you will find the prices are going to be higher than Jimmy's at Italy for the exact same thing. So it's $2.99 at Jimmy's. It might be $5 at Italy.
Okay. And now, I mean, so Jimmy's, for people who haven't bet, you go south on 75, and what's the street you exit?
You exit on Bryan Street.
Okay.
So not Henderson, Bryan exit. And yeah, you turn, if you're headed south on Central Expressway, you turn left on Bryan Street.
That's right. So it's
right there on the corner. And
it is a gem. It's a gem.
It really is. And they're limiting the number of customers in the store because of COVID. So you should be prepared to wait in line at Jimmy's. But last time we talked about olive oil and like the different qualities. And like I have a dear friend, Luigi, who's always sampling his special olive oil there. You can have a glass of wine. The sandwiches are to die for, but now they're pre-prepared, and I think you can only take it to go. So things have definitely changed. But basically, you see the goal is to create like a little tomato sauce according to the recipe. And then all we're gonna do is drain this tuna. And maybe I can just use this bowl right here that I have the ice water in. And we're just gonna add the tuna to this dish. So you can have it with tomato sauce or without. So it's very versatile. And I would say both are equally good. You know?
Now, is there a big difference in the quality of that tuna? I mean, I know that's like $2.50 as opposed to 79 cents. Is that also better quality tuna typically?
Well, I think anything with olive oil is preferable, right, to just a vegetable oil that's unknown. So I'm not saying that I go out of my way to buy it every time, but it's preferred to have olive oil, you know. Okay. And I think at this point, I might as well go ahead and put my pasta in. And even if you don't, while this is like cooking in, and so basically I'll just let it simmer just as I did with the garlic, where it infuses the taste of the tomato in with the tuna. Now in Italy, things are not salted like they are here. So you know that tomato, well, that one did have salt, but normally they don't. If you get canned tomatoes, they're not salted. So you're gonna have to taste it for salt. Be careful, because it may be, it may need salt. But how perfect is this? And so often you will want to add parsley to it. And I bought Italian parsley, and we were talking about what's the difference between Italian parsley and other types. And I don't think there's a big difference. I heard that the curly parsley has a bolder flavor.
Okay.
But I think you're good, no matter what. So
It's just any parsley, try to find Italian, but you're probably not going to get hate mail if you don't get Italian parsley.
No, I don't think so. So because I'm just cooking for myself and my son tonight, I'll just go ahead and do about half the pot. We're fairly big eaters, but I would say if you make the whole pound of pasta, it would be for a family of 4, and this will be good for 2 people. And again, important to set the timer. Go ahead and salt the water. I do prefer to use sea salt. And so I've got some sea salt here, and I'm salting the water. And meanwhile, this is going. And the only reason I put it in now is because I'm doing the variation. Otherwise, I would have put it in 5 minutes ago. And in 5 minutes, this will be ready.
Right. So you're not breaking the pasta to fit in the pot.
No, but when I show you the American way, I will break it. See?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I have never known, unless you're just dealing with a child who may have trouble eating it or something, I don't think you would want to break it,
And it'll just slink into the pot as it cooks.
Yeah, here it goes. And I've got my, this is a nice tool to have when you make spaghetti, right? And so,
Yeah.
But if you don't have it, you can just use a fork. And we'll just let that go for 10 minutes. And again, you can put parsley in anything, right? And just give it some color. I don't know how much flavor it's gonna add, but let's just give it some color here and call this dish number 1, which is the pasta with tuna. So how easy was that?
Awesome. And it could have been dish number 1 had you not put the tomatoes and the tuna in.
Right. It's actually dish number 2. And I think it would be good to put the Kalamata olives in here. It's just like, really, it's your imagination. It's up to you what you want to do or not do. But now I'm gonna, show you the fancy dish while this is still going, and let you know that I bought some clams at Central Market. Now this is where the clams wouldn't be quite like this. This is all I can find, and I'm happy to find it. And I make spaghetti with clams for Christmas Eve and special occasions. But I was saying that when we're at the beach, my sister will just buy the fresh clams on the beach from the fishermen. And my sister and her husband, they'll make spaghetti with clams all the time.
Oh, wow.
And so they're very, very easy. It's like by the time that spaghetti is cooked, I'll probably have dish number 3 made. And I don't know, how many minutes are we into our segment?
24 minutes.
Okay, well, let me turn on this other pan. And you notice that I put those clams in water.
Okay.
I don't know if they really come from the sea or if they're farm raised, but if they come from the sea, you want to soak them a little bit, and that way any kind of sand or, rinse them and soak them. So I did that. And it's also important that they be closed, right? When they open up, then they're good to eat. And if they don't open up, don't eat them.
Okay.
So
what's wrong with them then?
It just means they're no good. It's just like a measure of not being good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out the water while this oil is heating, and let's see what that looks like. Okay.
All right.
And of course, you'll want to have a plate handy for the shells, because you do serve them complete with the shells. So I only bought maybe half a pound. And for Christmas Eve dinner, I bought more. And I think, if you were making them in Italy, they'd be a lot smaller. But I'm just doing, again, just kind of adapting it.
So
And
this would be kind of a splurge, right? The
I
clams,
think
at least
it's a
here.
splurge. I
Okay.
haven't made it since Christmas Eve, and I'd be very unlikely to make it, By the way, go ahead and stir your pasta, while it's cooking so that it doesn't clump together.
So you don't put any
And
oil in it or anything? You just
No.
water and salt?
Yeah, just water and salt. And I'm just gonna call this one done and just show you what it looks like. That is a delicious meal right there.
Yeah.
Tuna and fresh tomatoes, and we fudged a little bit because I'm under pressure. But I'm just gonna rinse this pan and get it ready for the clams.
So is that going to be dinner for you tomorrow?
Yes, and we're gonna eat the clams tonight because those I did buy them yesterday because I was teaching today, but you do want them to be as fresh as possible. So
Okay.
I'm gonna use 2 different pans. And again, do you want to guess what my base is for the with the spaghetti with clams? What's my base?
Olive oil?
And what else?
Salt?
Yes, and what else?
Garlic.
Garlic. And right, it's always back to that, right? It's always back to the garlic. So let me do as the cookbook says and just get some garlic in there. And then they say remove the garlic, once
Okay.
it has the
Just to
flavoring.
flavor the oil.
Flavor the oil and then take it out. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, I'm heating the oil because we'll see how the clams do. Like, I'm nervous a little bit because it's not something that I make that often, to be honest.
Okay, so the clams you're cooking in oil.
Too, yeah. But I'm going
Okay.
ahead, and it says to cook them in a different pan, and who knows why, but then I'll transfer them over to the other
Okay.
one. So there's no garlic in this one.
So they're not being steamed. They're like sauteed in olive oil.
Yeah, they're sauteed in olive oil, and if all works according to plan, they should open up, and it should be absolutely delicious. And then I'll transfer them there. And so
Okay.
I'm not sure of the reasoning of why wouldn't I just put it in the olive oil with the garlic? I'm not sure. I'm just following instructions because I'm that kind of cook. I don't cook
Awesome.
without a recipe.
And so you don't have to cover them or anything?
Well, we'll see. I'll be prepared to, but let's just see what happens because I'm just not experienced enough with this. But I've got my garlic going here, and I just want to be sure that it's hot enough.
Yeah.
But I guess it won't hurt anything if I just go ahead and put them in and just see what happens. And I've got it on pretty high heat. And while we're waiting for them to open up, I want to talk about an American variation on spaghetti.
Yeah, so this sounds good to me as somebody.
My veggetti available on Amazon for about $10, and I'm making a mess now. But basically, when I don't feel like eating spaghetti, I just swirl my zucchini. Can you see it there?
Yeah.
And I create a nice plate. I'll do most of this zucchini so you can see one zucchini alone makes a pretty nice plate. And I feel like the brain thinks that it's spaghetti, even though it's not. And I put the same toppings on it. I'm not going to waste my clams on veggetti, but I'll put meatballs, or I'll put pesto, or what else do I put on it? I like putting different vegetables on there, like tomatoes, mushrooms, kind of making a vegetable medley.
Well, since we're all short of vegetables in our diet, what a fantastic
How great is that? And again, I just cook it right in the olive oil with garlic. So it hasn't been 10 minutes yet, and so my spaghetti still has 2 minutes to go. And look at me, I'm already like on my way to making the spaghetti with clams. And fingers crossed that they open, otherwise it's like a cooking fail. This is kind of the moment of truth. Are they going to open up? And I'm going to go ahead and turn them around.
How long does it usually take them to open?
I don't know.
Depends. And so are they technically alive when you put them in there?
I think they are, like they've been on ice, and the fact that they're closed, and I think, yeah, I think we do need a top, so let me grab one. Let's see what happens with the top on it. You
Yeah,
can
and I mean,
tell this is not my area of strength, you know, this is like an experiment for me, as it will be for you, you know?
hey,
when
you
you
know, I
try
think
it.
it's kind of fun sometimes to just start with the challenge of, you know, hey, I have no power again today. And what are we going to eat from the pantry? But this is a little more civilized challenge.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing them open just yet, so we'll give them a little bit more time. I am going to go ahead and take the garlic out over here. And you know, it occurs to me that probably we're doing it in a separate pan because we do want that high heat, you know, and
Right.
I don't know that we want to turn up the olive oil quite that high in our main dish, but to be honest, I don't even know. So, hey, do we have any questions from the audience as we wait?
Let's see. I am watching. I do not see any questions yet, but I have a question for you. So are you going to serve this with bread or salad, or what would you serve this with?
Serve it with Italian bread, and I got this one at Whole Foods. And you know, back in the day, my mom used to have to make Italian bread, and yeah, we eat white bread. We're not saying that there's not whole wheat bread in Italy, because there is, and they're gluten-free too these days, some people. But white bread, white spaghetti, that's just the way it is. So I hear that my spaghetti is ready, and yay, the clams are opening just in time.
All right.
So I'm gonna dump the spaghetti. And I don't do anything. I don't put oil. I don't run water on it. And I'm gonna come back to the clams now.
Well, we do have a comment in the chat from, oh, look at those. Have they all opened?
All but one. And we want that one to open too, because it's like, but if it doesn't, we won't eat it.
Okay. Wow, that was really fast.
Yeah.
So the comment, oh, sorry. The comment says, I cook spaghetti all the time, and she adds dried whole red chilies, breaks them in the pieces, and adds mushrooms instead of tuna.
Okay, I mean, it literally, the sky is the limit on what you can make spaghetti with, you know? But I will tell you a secret right now, which is we're gonna, okay, so that last one did open up. It looks like all of them are good. And we are gonna move them over, maybe not every bit of the juice, but we do want some of that clam juice in there,
Okay.
right? And so we're putting that there. And this is the key to making really good spaghetti, and I didn't show you before with the tuna because I saved that for another night. But what you want to do is you want to put the spaghetti into the pan.
Oh.
This is a secret, right? Don't just put it directly in the plate. Put it in the pan first and throw some parsley on it. And maybe a little bit of pepper. And I am so happy that it works, you know?
Excellent.
And it's gonna look like the pictures that Shabnam put on our social media, I'm pretty sure. And I think I saw my taster a minute ago, so let me see if he's in the next room. Michael, are you there? He might have escaped.
So, okay. So
oh, no, he is here.
Oh, he is.
All right. So come say hello and I'll get a plate. So do you like spaghetti with clams, Michael?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, now I'm excited.
So this is a plate that means a lot to me because I had a very dear friend named Rosalia. And in fact, it's her son, Luigi, that will sample the olive oil at Jimmy's. And every time I went to Rosalia's house, she'd always say, eat, eat, eat. And somehow this plate ended up at my house, and Rosalia died in 2005. And so this is like one of my cherished possessions. And so I'm gonna make Michael a plate right here for him to just taste with these beautiful clams. And again, we'll put some pepper on it. But don't you agree that it looks absolutely gourmet?
Oh, yeah. And how do you eat the clams? So I don't eat any fish or seafood or clams or anything. So I have no idea. What do you do with them?
Okay, yeah. You just eat the inside and you have an extra plate for the shells.
Yeah, you see, you can just take it out with a fork.
Okay, so you grab it with the fork and you can eat everything in there. That's not shell.
That's right. Exactly.
So there are no little nasty bits. It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah.
Here we go.
See, it's so good that it's just even hard to find the words.
Very good. Very good. These are excellent clams. The pasta is perfect. Al dente.
Yeah, I didn't even taste it because I was under pressure, but happy to have my taster here. Do we have any comments, Dinos?
Yeah, so we have some who are saying we're going to try some of these versions. Somebody else says they don't eat shellfish out of choice, so they're on my side there. Texture issues, and people think it looks amazing. So very good. But you know what? I like it. So many different options, right? So you can customize it to meet your culinary preferences.
Yeah.
And you're right, there are no meatballs here. No meatballs, no
There are
heavy
no
red
meatballs.
sauce.
And I didn't even tell you a 1 minute version. I said 10 minutes or less, $5 or less. If you are one of the people that is an Instapot fan, and I need to get some of my stuff out of the way so you can see it, you can get the spaghettini, the thin pasta. And
So what number would that be?
Number 2.
Okay.
To lower the number. And so with the Instapot, it has a saute function. And so again, what would you start with? In theory, you would start with the olive oil and the garlic, even though my recipe says put butter instead of olive oil. So let's think about it being American style. And they also recommend, because it's with shrimp, this version, so I wanted to show all the fish varieties, you would add some lemon and maybe some white wine. So you've got that base and a little bit of water. And then what's so cool is you do break these in half and you do 12 ounces. So instead of 16, you use 3/4 of the package and you crisscross them like that. And so saute, then set the Instapot to 1 minute and you put the frozen shrimp right on top.
Wow.
And after 1 minute, you let it release for 5. And you've got the most delicious combination of lemon, wine. What am I missing? Salt and all of that. And it is absolutely delicious.
Wow,
and I still don't use butter, but the recipe calls for butter.
That's really incredible. I mean, I think, for students who are, we keep them busy.
Yes.
So we definitely keep them busy. And this is amazing. I mean, 4 different options from vegetarian to pescatarian.
And what's our time? How many minutes?
5:38, and you've basically walked us through 4 meals.
I've walked you through 4 meals, and you know what? That Instapot sat on my counter for about a year and a half, and I never even tried to use it. But once I started looking up recipes, the one I just mentioned to you is from the Food Network. I'm loving it because I can put it in and walk away. I don't have to sit,
And I used to, when I came back from Spain, I saw how, the woman I lived with used her pressure cooker all the time, but pressure cookers are a little scary. Especially if you don't use them all the time and you wonder if that gasket is not good anymore, and you certainly don't want to walk away from it. But this, you can walk away and it's
safe. I make all kinds of things. I make soup, I make fajitas in there, just that one dish meal, chicken cacciatore. I've just really liked it. Today I left some Greek style chicken for my son when I went to teach. And so, I brought home the bacon today and I fried it up because some of my students just saw me an hour ago in class.
That is impressive. Oh yeah, so we have a comment. You're so organized how you cook, and nice to see Michael, and yeah, just fantastic.
I wonder if any of my Italian relatives are up at this hour. I invited them around 11 p.m. Rome time.
I think I might see at least one on here.
Is there a Mariana?
Let's see.
Mariana, if you're there, unmute and say hi. She might not have stayed up this late. It's 12:30 right there.
Yeah, 'cause
So.
it's 12, that's pretty late.
Yeah, it's pretty late. So, but I'm grateful to all of my students and the people I don't know that came. And isn't this so much fun, Dean Holmes, to do this every month?
It is. And, I do think we're tracking, I'll just share with students, I think we're tracking to have a lot more and to be almost back to normal in fall. Maybe we'll have to wear masks or, we'll all certainly hopefully have shots by then. And I think we'll be able to transition this to in person next fall in the dining hall.
Oh my goodness,
Or
that's
in
a
the
dream come
dorms.
true.
Doesn't
is
that
a
sound
dream
fun?
come true.
And we could kind of raffle off the seats right there in front for the
Yeah.
people who could taste.
And then we can be live on Facebook and live on Zoom, and we'll keep that technology, but we'll come back to the in person because you know what? There's just nothing like being together in one place.
And we're gonna get close. I mean, it's gonna happen. And what I like is then we'll be able to break bread together and really get back to normal. So who's next?
Denise Boots is making shepherd's pie, and this is an example of something I couldn't even tell you what shepherd's pie is. I've never had it. There's some American dishes that I just don't know. I didn't eat oatmeal until I was an adult.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I have eaten shepherd's pie, and it's healthier than tater tot hot dish.
Okay, well, good. Well, you gotta admit tonight was a very healthy option.
Yes.
And imagine if I was making my veggetti. I mean, it's filling, and probably you can eat for 100 calories, literally.
Gee, what else can you use other than zucchini?
So carrots, but I'm not sure. It says potatoes. I don't know what you'd make. I've only used zucchini with it. And you mentioned that you'll make a squash spaghetti, right?
Yeah, I do spaghetti squash, but it's involved. It takes a long time. You either have to microwave it, then scoop it, then you got to cook it in the oven and kind of steam it.
Yeah.
So I'll be a believer.
Good. Well, I'm just grateful you all came into my kitchen tonight, and like bon appetito, as they say in Italy. All it's missing is like a glass of wine to say salud.
Wow.
Salud.
Enjoy. You deserve a glass of wine after teaching and cooking for us. So thank you very much. Enjoy your dinner. Eat those clams before they're cold.
I will. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.